Hello everyone, I'm Lauren Yanjing Luo. Welcome to the first session of our musician interview series. Today it's my honor to have Professor Chen啟揚to share his life as a composer and give us some advice on composition learning. Professor Chen啟揚integrates nuance and relevance in music that converses with societies and cultures, with a focus on the creative potential of tonal languages. Published by Addison Peters and released on Ablaze and PARMA Records, his works are presented internationally by groups including the Pittsburgh Symphony Orchestra, Albany Symphony Orchestra, Kong Philharmonic Orchestra, Kong Sinfonietta, and Daedalus Quartet at venues such as ISCM World Music Days and International Rostrum of Composers. He earned his Ph.D. in music composition from the University of Pennsylvania and currently serves as assistant professor at the Chinese University of Hong Kong. Without further introduction, let's begin with the first question. Hi, Professor Chan. When did you start your composition journey and why did you decide to learn composition?
I first did an undergraduate degree in translation actually at the Chinese University of Hong Kong. And it was during my exchange semester to the University of Pennsylvania that gave me a confidence boost to pursue a music career. After returning from Penn, I took as many music courses as I could as a minor student, and I eventually got into CUHK's master's program in music composition. I applied to Penn again for my doctoral studies and spent 4 years completing my degree. And those years have been truly transformative. I got to work with professional musicians from all around the world of the highest caliber, and I traveled to over a dozen countries to hear my music performed in all sort of interesting venues and festivals, and also got to publish my orchestral and choral music as CDs and scores. And my decision to learn composition has to do with my experience with the Chinese orchestra when I was a secondary school student. My time with the orchestra, both as a erhu player and as an alumni trainer, is still one of the fondest memories of my life. We're brought very closely together by the beautiful music written by living composers, because most work for Chinese orchestra are written by living composers. So I thought that maybe I could also write music that would foster ties and friendships in some other part of the world. And that's why I wanted to be a composer.
This is an inspiring experience. And let's move on to the second question. Professor Chan, could you please share a typical day of a composer?
Well, I don't think there's a typical day for me, but on different days you will find me recording with musicians, preparing scores, improvising on a keyboard, reading, going to art exhibitions, listening and analyzing music, or just hanging out with friends. I mean, art is inseparable from life, so it's important to live your life to the fullest before any art can come out of it.
Yeah, that's very true. For the following questions, we will move on to more related to composition learning. So question number 3, any advice to the students, middle school students more specifically, who are interested in composition and want to start a career on this subject?
I think it's really important to figure out why you want to do it, what kind of music you want to write, who are you writing them for, how big of an audience do you want? Do you want an audience at all? Do you want to do it professionally, or you can just do it as a hobby? All right, so there's different options that you could think about. If you're writing classical music, it's probably music for the concert halls or the recital halls in a more academic setting. If you're writing popular music, it will probably reach a much wider audience. And in general, I think some level of Western music theory is important because it affects many modern genres of music. And I suggest for beginners, you can check out the many free courses that are offered online in platforms such as edX, Coursera, and YouTube channels, and there will always be something free for you to get you started on music composition.
Thank you. And for the second group of students, we are focusing on the university students who are majoring in music, but they are not majoring in composition. If they want to apply for graduate school for a composition major, any advice that you would like to give to them?
I think one quite important questions to think about is what kind of financial assistance you need for the program. Some of the programs are self-financed, which means you have to pay out of your own pocket. Some of them are funded, which means the program pays you to attend. So that's one important consideration. Or if money is not an issue, then you have to think about what kind of music you want to write. For example, if you want to write orchestral music, you probably want to check out schools that have an orchestra and that the orchestra offer reading opportunities for the composers. If you want to write for choirs and bands, you should also make sure that school have them, because not every school have opportunities for composers to do that kind of music. And if you're into film music, game music, and there are schools that have a reputable filmmaking program or film music program that you want to check out. And that's an important thing to think about. And of course, after thinking about these questions, you should craft your application well. Make sure you have a genuine personal statement that stands out. 2 points are both very important: genuine and standing out. So everybody's gonna say they're passionate about music, they love music since childhood, and for many Chinese composers, they would say, oh, they want to integrate Chinese tradition and philosophy with Western practices. I'm not saying that you should not aspire to do that, but make sure you know what you're saying, be as specific as possible. Let's say, have you done field trips? Have you recorded different ethnic groups singing? Have you studied with those groups? If you're talking about philosophy, which philosophy? There are so many philosophers in the Chinese tradition alone. Okay, so who inspires you the most? And what does that have to do with your music? Is your narrative convincing? I think these are important to think about. And I think most importantly, you should prepare a good portfolio of works, which includes scores and recordings. Make sure the scores are well engraved, meaning that they are professional looking, and you should put together a portfolio of contrasting works with good recording, and that matters a lot. If you can't get good players, at least invest in a virtual studio that can deliver a good mock-up of your ideas. And then you also need to think about who you want to study with, who is working on something that really inspires you, etc., etc. So these are some important questions to think about if they want to pursue a degree in music or composition.
Thank you. So let's move on to the next group of students who are not majored in music at all. They may be adults or university students who are majoring in other subjects, but of course they have some music background. If they want to prepare for a master or Ph.D. degree in composition, do you have any advice for them, like how to get the preparation started?
I mean, if you have a good portfolio of work, what you major in does not matter very much. A good degree in any field plus a good portfolio will serve you well in your application.
Sure. Lastly, we want to ask more specific to CU Music or Composition Department. Do you know how many graduate students will be admitted every year, and how many applications that we receive for each program, and what aspect of the applicant's ability is more important?
The admission quotas actually varies every year. So for the MA program, the Master of Arts in Music program at CUHK admits around 30 to 50 people every year. Some of them comes with a scholarship. And for research postgraduate program, the MS, the DMAS, or Ph.D, MPhil programs, they're much smaller. And the admission quota varies a lot, and it's shared among all fields at all levels. So it's not just composition. In a particular year, we could take as few as only 3 people across all masters on doctoral programs, and we could take as many as 10 people, and it really depends on the year and the quality of the candidates across all fields. And it's really competitive because it comes with a studentship, So students will receive a living stipend over the course of the normative period in exchange for some work done for the department, like being a TA or helping out with some research work or helping out at department events. Beyond the craft of your composition, your English level is also very important, and that's directly reflected in your personal statement. So I suggest that you get started on that and have your native speaker friends pre-read for you if you want to have a good personal statement.
So can I summarize the portfolio work and the personal statement are important for the applicants to work on?
Right, that's right. They are both very important.
Cool. Thank you very much for your time today. This is the end of our interview session. Thank you for watching. Please give us a like, share this video to your communities, and leave your comments if you do have. Thank you for watching.
Thank you.